On tonight's show, I've chosen 3 women whose faces are familiar to TV audiences, although their styles and strengths are different. They're all very individual, and I know that they've usually got a lot to say. They're all people who interest me, and I hope that in the next 40 minutes you'll agree. My first friend is now in her rightful place on TV live every day. I'd like to introduce the girl from Lancashire with that northern directness which can be disarming but instantly recognisable as Pattie Coldwell. Pattie, tell me, is it true that you once said to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers that they sounded just like the Hollies?
You've done your research, haven't you?
Someone told me they heard you say that on Granada Report.
That's true, yes. I don't know how many people have heard of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but when I first had to interview him, I was a junior reporter and I desperately wanted to be famous. And it was a pop show, and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers I hadn't heard of. They're now, incidentally, one of the biggest rock bands in America.
Yes, you bet.
And will go on forever. And I heard this record, and I thought it sounded like the Hollies speeded up. So I said so. And I don't think he liked it very much.
The reason I asked you is because you are very outspoken. When we worked together on the afternoon show here in Glasgow, I remember you saying to me that you much preferred doing live television and things that were recorded. Why? What's the difference?
There's something about the sort of getting your adrenaline going, isn't there? I mean, you know, there you were, sort of trembling all over the studio before we started. No, you were very cool, but I love that adrenaline. And I like the fact that you don't know what's going to happen next. And you can't edit it. And in a funny way, I suppose it's to do with the power you have. Because in the end, you know, you get these little earpieces in your ear when you're doing...
I tried one of them today, but I threw it away.
That's right.
Couldn't work with it.
Well, Terry Wogan doesn't use one of these. Not a lot of people know this. He has what they call idiot boards behind your head. I'm saying nothing. But actually, everybody uses those if they don't use earpieces. But I love going on what they call the earpiece. And in the gallery, you know, where all the television people are, and they're all giving you timings, and all things are coming in, and roll VT, and talk to such a body, and you've got 4 minutes left. I like to hear everything that's going on. So I have this earpiece on what they call Omni Talkback.
So you've got everything?
Everything that's going on, all the sort of instructions.
And you're trying to conduct an interview with somebody.
And chew gum and cross your legs at the same time, but I love that. I love the challenge. And of course, in the end, if they keep saying, ask him this question, ask him that question, you just take it out. And you've got total power.
I've got notes somewhere that, I can't believe this because you've never let on to me about this, and I've known you for a long time now, that you have played keyboards in a band. Is this a lie?
Well, I didn't want to overshadow you in any way, Barbara, but it is becoming extremely well known that I can sing.
I've never heard you sing.
Well, I decided to keep it like a jewel to sort of be released.
And have another string to your bow in case.
For example, how low can you get? How low can you get below middle C?
No. That's low.
Right.
That's
well,
low.
Not a lot of people know this either.
Is it any use to you being able to sing that low? Not really. That's why you're a very famous television journalist, presumably.
We could do a record together. And I could do the bom 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 bom. Yeah.
And we could do Blue Moon. Blue Moon. Yes, exactly.
So now
if we get the key right, it would be fantastic.
All those late nights we spent in hotels together.
We can.
You never knew I could sing lower than a man.
Well, I remember that the thing that most impressed me when I first met you, and this is a very sort of large part of your personality as a broadcaster, is your voice. And I just remember, I knew your voice before I knew you.
Yes.
And I know you've had a lot of trouble. I mean, it's famous now that you talk about people writing up when you were on the radio, talking about the way you spoke. I mean, doesn't that deeply irritate you?
No, I think my voice deeply irritates them, so it's even, isn't it, really? And there's probably half of the people who wrote in the first place are sitting in the audience, but I forgive you all.
But I don't think, I have to say this, defending the audience here, that, and I would think a lot of people at home, you see, being Scots people, you can also be slightly discriminated against, in that people expect you to be a certain thing because of what you sound like.
That's right, and for that reason, I always feel happier in a way when I'm with the sort of what people see as minorities. It's ludicrous, isn't it? Because this whole nation here. And it is true, you do get slightly ghettoed off. And I mean, I'm English, I think, and I feel like I'm in a foreign country sometimes. You know, it's 200 miles up the motorway from London. And I think that it took me probably a longer time to get where I wanted to get on television, because I didn't fit that role of the sort of terribly Queen's English nice girl, you know, hello, do come in. And I think they were a bit worried that they wouldn't understand me, that they'd have to employ an interpreter or something.
Do you not think, though, that the people who like you more because you have a sort of, if I say a homely voice, I'm not being insulting, you sound like as if you are approachable because of the way you speak. You don't sound sort of toffee-nosed or stuck up, which I think, I mean, she does sound like the sort of person
sort of common.
Did I say that, putting words into my mouth?
You came from a very ordinary background too,
Yes, I did.
You've done ever so well, though, and she got a lovely voice.
You're sweet, you're lovely.
It's funny, when I was on the radio, and I got all these thousands of letters, people either loved or loathed me, and I'm sure that's still true, but there comes a point where you've just not to bother about it. I'm sure you understand that.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And all these people wrote in saying, get her off the BBC. This is absolutely appalling. The BBC's falling apart. I haven't seen anything like it or heard anything like it since Wilfred Pickles was allowed to read the news, you see. So I got all these awful letters, but on the other hand, all these nice people who wrote in and said they really liked me. And when I bumped into people, they'd listen in the shop and think, I know that voice, because it sort of sticks out.
Yes.
And they used to say to me time after time, oh, you're quite attractive. and they all imagined me as that sort of Lancashire lady with a big bosom and a pinny.
Or a bit like Nora Batty or something, with wrinkled tights. Right. And she never has wrinkled tights. That seems like exactly the place for me to stop you for a second, because I would like to introduce you and the audience here to my next guest. And this lady, I think, does a great service to Scotland because she's sharp, she's witty, she's stylish, in a way that I always wanted to emulate in my days when I used to hang around the Art College in Edinburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, Muriel Gray.
That I couldn't get this stuffed up my dress, so technology demands it, I just sit with it.
Well, I think that is terrible, Muriel. Your experience as a broadcaster should have told you that you must come in something other than your underclothes.
No, I give these technicians a challenge.
I'm just jealous because I can't get into a lovely slim frock like that.
She's been calling me an old tart for most of this afternoon.
Would I say?
I think probably she would. Muriel.
Why did you hang around Art College?
Because
a groupie?
No, well, I suppose you would call it that, because I used to go out with somebody at the architecture school in Edinburgh.
Oh, don't we all?
So yes, and of course your chap's an architect, but I used to know quite a lot of lads at the architecture school.
Good for fixing your garage.
That's right, wonderful, very handy chaps, architects. Yes, always good to have around. Muriel, do you know, it was only when I decided to ask you to invite you to come on the show that I found out, I had no idea, that you had been a musician. I mean, were you a serious musician, or was it just a big joke?
Oh, thank you very much.
No, I don't know.
Barbara.
I had no idea, so tell us about it. Were you really a...
Yes, well, sort of after a fashion. Yeah, I didn't realise that you were a keyboard player.
That's right. I can only play A-D&E.
No, I used to play guitar in a very, very bad band.
Bass guitar?
No,
not
I'm very
bass.
sexist, because you think there's only 4 strings, only girlies can handle bass. No, 12-string Baldwin.
Good Lord.
Acoustic, but I mean, I could only play about 1 chord. And
Can you play Blue Moon? We could get together.
Of course I can't play Blue Moon.
Sorry.
Muriel, I also think about you as being, you know, you always talk about that not that you hate London, but you prefer to live in Scotland. Now, I'm interested in this, in that I am a Scot who lives in London and does a lot of work here. So we probably pass each other on planes all the time.
Have a near miss.
You work down there, and I work up here a lot. Why do you feel so strongly about living in Scotland?
Well, because, I mean, this is where I live. I mean, everybody says, why haven't you moved to London? I keep saying, well, why haven't you moved out of London? I don't really understand why one should immediately move somewhere else. I mean, thinking as if London's the centre of the universe. I mean, I'm here doing this tonight. If I lived in London, I'd have had to fly up for this instead of just sort of come through from Edinburgh. I love living in Scotland. I don't see any reason why everybody should immediately trek down there. Shuttle only takes an hour, and people don't employ journalists or writers or broadcasters because they live round the corner, do they? They don't say, oh, who lives in W12, we'll get them.
It's interesting, actually, because in my own case, I had to live in London because the job I was doing, which was in the theatre, demanded that I should be there every day. So obviously I didn't have an option when I went to stay there. And I got kind of stuck in it. Well, I think the way you do when you go to live somewhere, I got stuck with being used to being there, having almost like a new circle of friends. And for a few years before that, I had done so much travelling, I didn't really have a home. So it was, I felt quite comfortable down there.
I mean, perhaps if I'd put down roots in London and earlier as a student, I'd feel differently. It's just, I mean, my roots are all here, and I have no intention of leaving, and I really get irritated with people that try and make me leave. And, you know, like, for instance, you know, Billy Connolly, well, I know he's a friend of yours. I mean, he's got very upset about, you know, Scottish people shouting at him in the street. Well, I don't care. I mean, as long as it's Scottish people shouting at me in the street, I'd rather have that than English people shouting at me in the street.
At least you can understand what they're saying.
At least I can shout back. So, no, I've no intention of moving at all, and I think I would actually, I've said before, I'd rather be on the dole up here than sort of having Terry Wogan's job down there. I don't mean that very blasé. I just would rather, you know, sort of be down on my uppers and live where I want to, rather than be forced in that big unfriendly city.
When you're on television, Muriel, I always get the impression. No, not at all. No. I'm never bored when you're on. I always get the feeling that you're slightly sending it up. I mean,
oh no, Barbara,
not
it's
at all.
Brilliant.
I mean, are you sending it up, or do you just sort of come over that way?
Well, I just, do you know what she means? I don't know. Oh, you do, right? No, I don't.
See, being ganged up on from both sides.
Television isn't very serious, is it? I mean, this is a terrific idea by BBC Scotland, because obviously, if they said come on a chat show, people would say, well, no, but they say, well, your pals asked you on, and you can't say no, can
Bring
you?
all your friends.
I know, it's real moral blackmail.
I've never met her before.
I don't know who I have met. Who is she anyway?
Who are you, by the way?
I don't think there's anything serious about television at all. It's only a television programme, and I think anybody that takes it too seriously is doing themselves an injustice. There's obviously serious issues that are dealt with on television, but there's nothing about television itself that's particularly serious. I don't know if you agree, 'cause I mean,
Well, I've just had the chance to do a serious documentary, which I felt was really important. So,
which is your programme with Terry about
my friend
the AIDS
Terry, who died of
victims.
AIDS. Yes.
But then that's a serious issue. If you see what I mean, it's the actual medium itself isn't serious. I think that's what.
Well, I
Barbara's
think the
getting
medium
at.
is serious,
In
because
what way?
I think it affects people's attitudes enormously, and it has an enormous power, and that's where, if it's used to the bad, then that's worrying, and I think you can use it to the good, and therefore it is serious, because it affects people's attitudes.
Yeah, but you can say that about the press as well. For instance, I mean, to take yourself seriously, say even as a columnist or something,
well, it's different
not
taking yourself seriously. I mean, that's what you do so brilliantly, Smarm Creep.
Smarm Creep.
And when Barbara's done it a bit longer, she'll be able to do it as well. Which is to sit back and relax. Shut up, my show. Sit back and relax, and be sort of cheeky, and do be you.
And say that Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers sound like the Hollies speeded up.
Well, I did.
I really wish I'd seen his face when you said that.
But don't you think I mean, in many ways, we're very similar, this one here. She's very real on telly. You're very the same off telly as on.
I don't know if that's a good
That's
thing,
what I think about both of you, because you both seem to be very strong in personality and also very natural. Do you think that, for example, insincerity or like really putting on airs and graces, do you think it shows up on television, or can people
No, really, let me tell you, Barbara, I really mean this.
Do you think you can see the joins? Do you think the people at home can see the joins?
Yes, and I think they're often, it's often assumed that our audiences are patronised a lot, I think, on television. And I think that people want more intelligent stuff than they're sometimes given. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Do you really think so?
Some people like, you know, people love Cilla Black. She's a top-rating television star. But I mean, of course, she's trying to be, you know, Laura, she's trying to be the average housewife. I mean, she lives in a house surrounded by security guards, you know, like rolls right. I mean, how sincere is that? I mean,
she speaks very highly of you, actually.
I'm not saying she's an unpleasant woman, but I'm saying there is someone who's blatantly insincere, pretending to be a working class woman.
Who's very popular. So her public persona is sufficient to make her successful. So you don't really have to be yourself on television at all.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you there about Cilla. I think that she started off as a dead ordinary girl and stuck with it. And the trouble is, you end up making money and you move into the sort of middle class.
And she was a singer anyway,
ordinariness, though. I mean, you must admit.
Do you not think she's sincere? I do.
No, I don't, I'm afraid, but I don't know.
I think it's just the script writers that make her insincere. She has to read all these daft lines that if she just said it in her own words, it would work
I'm
better.
just jealous because I've never been on a blind date.
Perhaps we can arrange that for this
Pity the one that gets me.
They're all, but have you noticed all the blokes look like hairdressers?
Listen, hang on a minute, Giles, because we have a missing space over here. There's a space with somebody's got to sit in this thing, and this is in fact time for my third and final guest to make an entrance this evening, and she's got a reputation for being very, very outspoken, and one of the reasons I've got a real fondness for her is that she's never written anything hideous about me at all, and I think probably that she's a big softie. Anyway, we'll see for ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, Nina Mishko.
I can't believe you called Cilla Black a singer. Who called Cilla Black a singer?
I said that, but they didn't listen. They weren't listening.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. I'm standing, jumping up and down. Let's get that out.
Now, Nina, that sets up my first question absolutely beautifully, which is, do you think your reputation is deserved?
Well, I'm not actually aware of what my reputation is. You're more aware of it than me. But
well,
I think
you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you have people, I think, probably tremble when they hear your name and they think, what is she going to say now?
Well, I think that's perhaps a little tough, but on the other hand, I mean, I know that I do come out and say things that perhaps people are thinking at home on the sofa, and they'd turn, and if we were sitting around watching telly and Cilla Black came on and went, surprise, surprise, I mean, they'd all turn around and go, I mean, you do, but if you know, but on the other hand, nobody says it in public. Well, I'm prepared to say it in public. I'm perhaps a bit, bolder than most, that's all.
Because you do say it in public, do you get hate mail? I mean, do people write absolutely hideous letters to you because of what you say?
Well, oddly enough, I get about 30%. Well, the ones that can write make it, yes. Samantha Fox's father once wrote to me. I was amazed he could write. Yes, they do write, but only about 30%. The rest, 70%, is actually very nice.
So basically what you're saying is that the people that you're actually talking about in the main get very upset, and the public treat what you're saying rather favourably because you tend to be the voice of the people.
Well, I wouldn't set myself up like that, but it seems to coincide with the public view very often. And the odd thing is that most of my support comes from women. I mean, men seem to be far more shocked by anything outrageous or strong that a woman says, whereas a man can be tough. A woman is always a bitch. I mean, men can't accept it the same way that women can. True, and I think that's rather unfair. And I've had wonderful letters from all ages of women, 80-year-old women writing, saying, I've never written a letter to anybody on a newspaper before, but you made me laugh out loud when you said so and so and so and so. I mean, that's lovely. I mean, I don't do it because of that, but it's nice to get that.
Is there such a thing as constructive criticism in your business?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. And I hope that all the columns that I wrote over the 5.5 years I was a TV critic, because I've now given that up. Or it's rather given me, I'm not sure which. But a lot of people are sleeping more easily at night, including the Jimmy Tarbucks and the Max Bygraves and the Benny Hills of this world. I forgot what I was saying. What were we talking about?
I can't remember what I asked you. I said, can your criticism be constructive?
I'm sorry, I started thinking of Benny Hill, and then I had this terrible mental image of him, and I thought, what a hideous picture, and I got lost. Yes, of course it can be. I know you would. I got to the stage where I get very cross if people said, oh, all you do is slag performers off, because I hopefully didn't do that. I mean, there were the sort of the barbs and the comments, but underneath that, I put in a lot of work, a lot of homework. I watched sort of about 45 hours a week, and hopefully, if you read what I was actually saying, then you knew that I was interested in television and interested in seeing that it either maintained its standards or continued in the same way or improved, which sounds very pompous, but I do think we have the best television in the world, and it's nice to be able to keep it like that.
Do you think you were able to influence standards in any way, in a funny way? Now, I'm not meaning that as a great important question, but do you think perhaps you did influence standards because of what you were saying, trying to keep, well, really, basically, a lot of the time, you're trying to keep standards up?
Yes, I don't honestly think so. I mean, I've never made any grand claims for it. It's just one person's view, really. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, what on earth does it matter? And I could never understand why people got upset. Because, I mean, I now appear on television myself from time to time, and I get incredible criticism. And some twit from The Sun wrote, Nina Mishko has the sort of figure that makes strong men reach for their harpoons. quite witty for The Sun, really, but I mean, honestly, I couldn't give a toss. I mean, A, he's partially right, and B, I don't care about him in any way at all. And I think if you're confident within yourself, and your friends and people you love know you, that's all that matters. So what on earth can one person do?
I always find that the press is a sort of difficult area for me, because
you get quite upset about the press.
I do. Well, I do get. I know that. Well, everybody who knows anything about me always knows that I get very upset with very bad criticism about my performances.
But why, unless is that because you think it was bad?
I don't quite know what it is. It is such an
it's a lack of security.
It's an emotional thing that. Oh, sometimes, if I have done something that isn't very good, I mean, I will take it on the chin.
Does it make you cross then when you read it?
No, it just really hurts me.
Oh, very, very
hurt. Oh, Pattie! No, but it doesn't.
What do you do to people, Nina?
But Nina's never said anything horrible. No, Nina has never said anything horrible about me, but if she said I had a fat bum, I don't think it would bother me at all. I mean, it wouldn't bother me, because I would just think that was a bit of fun. But if you said that I was a really dreadful singer with no style, who just simply couldn't sing in tune and shouldn't be in the music business, I would be devastated. But if you said something about my hair
making it
or
up herself now.
You're a very good line.
I would never say that about you, because you're obviously not that. But you must know inside yourself that you're not that, and whoever wrote anything like that must be nuts.
But it's interesting, I don't think performers, I mean, obviously all of you find this difficult to believe, but I don't think that many performers are very brave about this sort of thing. I think they do find it, they have a real Achilles heel about what they feel very strongly about, which is their work.
You're right, because I'm sure you're the same. If somebody, I mean, again, I don't mind at all when people call me hideous, ugly, and so on. I mean, I agree with them, but when people say she didn't do, I mean, remember the same person, The Sun, that I was just saying earlier, said what a monster I was, and they printed a wee photograph of me I thought it was quite pretty, and it said Gray, hideous.
Oh my! And the man who wrote is hideous himself. He looks like Bluto.
If they said about me, or Pattie saying, oh, how badly you presented that, you were so unprofessional, you didn't hold it together, then I probably would be upset if I thought I had done that. So it's exactly the same thing as you were saying.
I still think that actually in the end Nina's right, that you've got to know what you feel yourself about your performance. And if it's not up to your standard, and you know that you do veer in that direction, that the critic has picked up on you. I do think they do have they help in a sense sometimes to keep your head
I think the
down.
best thing is when you read a bad notice and you feel angry, because that's a very healthy reaction where you want to punch the person who wrote it on the nose, because you really feel that they don't know what they're talking about. And that, I think,
Look, you see, it gets her upset.
yes, I think that, but that's good. I don't like to feel sort of hurt or wounded by it, because then of course, it has got to you. Whereas if you feel angry, you go,
But
come here and say that.
The worst thing, though, it's not the criticism necessarily, it's the untrue journalism.
Yeah.
The things they write that
Like
are total
what?
lies.
Like your underwear in the sun.
Oh my goodness!
Your underwear.
You didn't show your underwear in the sun, did you?
No, did I tell you about this?
No, I just heard
Sorry, just talk about yourself.
This is an actual story that on the television page, when my series was going out recently, one of the programs was going out Wednesday night. No, it wasn't the Sun, it was the Star. On the Star's television page, it said, and the caption was there was a picture of me with Barbara's in the pink. And I thought, oh yes, and it was a nice, great big picture of me, and it said, Barbara Dickson's in the pink because she's in Lincolnshire tonight, or wherever it was, on her series of travelling programmes around Britain. And it's just as well she's in the pink, because Barbara always wears pink underwear. It brings her luck, she said, and she'd never be seen without it.
Do you?
I sincerely hope not.
Do you? Prove it.
This was, I'm absolute, I mean, I cannot believe this. No one has spoken to me from the paper. I don't wear
But then
pink
you see,
underwear.
that's easy. I mean, Nina will know this. This is so easy. It's so easy to say, that for instance, if I'm interviewed by somebody, they can then say anything they like about me, and I can't say, prove I said that, because they'll just say, prove you didn't.
Yeah.
So if you can say, it's so much harder to actually prove that something is not true, isn't it? I mean, you could say, I mean, I know you don't, and I certainly never did either, but other people can just, if I didn't have a story one week, I could just make up anything. I can say, I was with Pattie Coldwell, and she told me that she likes to keep hamsters in small boxes this size and hit them with a hammer. I mean, anything, and she should have to prove that she didn't say that.
She hasn't said it.
But she does.
But of course.
No gerbils.
Exactly, Muriel. And your point is, in fact, that having to bring up the subject of it again, the lie, having to talk about the lie and say, but I'm not like that,
it just
makes people notice it even more.
You know, there's a one.
That's right.
No, I can't tell that story.
Oh, go on. Go on. They'll just edit it
No,
out
it's
anyway.
too rude. I wouldn't be able to work it out.
But you're talking about
I know, I could do it. Apparently, Gerald Ford, when he was he was campaigning to become congressman, and it was very early days. No, not Gerald Ford. What was it? Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson.
Yes.
You know, the one who was the real sort of talk like that. You know? Sort of a hole where his brain used to be, and he was determined to get this congressman, to be the big man in the area. And this other guy, who was a pig farmer, was doing rather well, apparently. And so he had a meeting with his political advisor, and he said, what are we going to do, John? This guy's coming forward, and I just got to win. He said, couldn't we say something about his relationship with his pigs? And his political advisor turns to him and he says, but you're not suggesting, Lyndon, that we suggest that he sleeps with his pigs? He says, no, but let's hear the bastard deny it.
That turned out comparatively clean at the end of the day.
You can imagine, as I was going through, I was editing it. But it's true, isn't it? That's the classic case.
True confessions, but I'm always interested to hear that people who, well, two of you are real journalists, as it were.
Very much,
no,
Barbara.
but Muriel, you started off life as an arts graduate. You haven't come up through newspapers.
You're being very artistic now, yeah.
She's not artistic at all.
I write with a big crayon.
You practice your reading and your writing.
But people who've come up sort of through the press, I always think of that.
The press. I'm not a real journalist.
I started on Jackie magazine.
I know you do.
Writing about pop stuff.
Let's go. I've got an NUJ card.
I haven't. Pattie Coldwell was going to get me one and didn't.
you want to start that question all over again?
Yes. Now, all three of you are journalists.
I can't remember what I was going to say now anyway, but you know, you never believe this, but we have run out of time. I was so worried that I would have to think of millions of things to ask you, and you've just done it all for me.
And we haven't even talked about boxer-shorted toy boys yet.
We haven't talked about toy boys. I'm so sorry, Nina. Next time we'll talk about boxer-shorted toy boys.
Thank you.
We could talk about anything you want as well.
I mean, you didn't get yours when you came in there.
I mean, she gets hers when she goes out. But I just want to thank Nina and Muriel and Pattie for being my friends this evening, and to say thank you very much indeed. Thanks to all of you.